Hi there. In Exodus 32:10, we read of this remarkable scene on top of Mount Sinai. God's presence filled the mountain with smoke and fire. Air shimmered with holiness, and the voice of the divine engaged in dialogue with Moses. Below, the people of Israel had turned away from God, and they were bowing before a golden calf. The scene is absolutely chaotic, it's disheartening and almost a sense of hopelessness. In this tension, God speaks to Moses, and in verse 10 of 32, God says, "Now leave me alone, so that my anger may burn against them and I may destroy them." Can you just imagine the moment? The mountain trembles, the winds are howling, and the divine presence radiates immense power. And the words could be terrifying. And yet there's this spark of subtle irony there. God the Almighty says to Moses, "Leave me alone so that I can." I mean, just think about that. God doesn't need anything from Moses for anger to burn. Now the ancients suggest that this is almost a challenge, an invitation for Moses to step in and intercede. And Moses, he gets it. He doesn't step aside. I imagine heart racing. He stands before God and he speaks boldly. And he says, "Lord, why should your anger burn against your people whom you brought out of Egypt?" The scene is almost cinematic. Moses, all small and human, arguing with a majestic and radiant divine presence. A subtle humor comes from this reversal, the human pleading with the Creator, daring to remind God of mercy. And yet, it works. God relents. Exodus 32 reminds us that love and intercession, it needs courage and persistence. The people Moses cared about were messy and rebellious and frustrating. We too encounter loved ones, family members or community members who disappoint us, who hurt us, who wander far from what he knows is right. And it's so tempting to step back and think, well, they're beyond hope. Let God handle it. But God's subtle humor and Moses' bold response teaches us something vital. We are invited to stand in the gap for those we love. Love is never passive. It often requires repeated prayer, patient intercession, and persistent hope. This story also reminds us that God welcomes our participation in acts of restoration. The divine sometimes invites us to step forward in prayer, in advocacy, and in care. God's "leave me alone" moment is almost a divine nudge. Engage, argue for mercy, refuse to abandon those who are precious, even when they are frustrating, even when they have disappointed us. So is there someone in your life that you're tempted just to walk away from? A family member, a friend, or a community member? How might you persist in prayer and care for them, trusting God's mercy to work through your persistence? May you remember that the triune God, Father, Son, and Spirit, invites us, you and I, into this work of mercy. May we be forgiven for the times we turn away when we should stay. May we be strengthened to persist in prayer, to love courageously, and to trust God's mercy and justice as we intercede for those we care about. Until we meet again, God bless.